iFly.com. This is Charlotte John Jones, and with me today, the 15th of April 2012, is cosmologist and solar flare expert Patrick Geryl. Patrick has published many books, including the infamous How to Survive 2012, and you can learn more about him at his website, howtosurvive2012.com. We have known now for a while that there's a direct relationship between planetary alignments and solar activity, but until now it has been a riddle which no living person has been able to decipher. Patrick, can you first of all tell us about the solar code you cracked, what circumstances produce X-class solar flares, and what planetary alignments we can expect to see approaching the 21st of December?
First, I have to say I was looking since the beginning of 1996, why they used oppositions and conjunctions for the planet alignments. So the Maya calculated that very accurately, and also the Egyptians, they knew the solar year better than our astronomers today. So they were able to say in 10,000 years Venus will be there in the sky without any fault.
Right.
And a few weeks ago, in the beginning of March, I found on the internet somebody that said, well, there is maybe something between X solar flares and conjunctions and oppositions from planets. And I said, wow, yes, that's it, because I was looking since several months before that there are triple line-ups at the end of December 2012. That means that there are several planets, 3 planets aligned.
Right.
And after making the dots, I was very fast to find that a combination of planets, of 3 planets, can produce X solar flares.
There's different alignments that can cause different strengths, isn't there?
Yes, there is also the most powerful planets are Saturn, Venus, and Mercury. So they will induce the big solar flare at the end of this year, around 21st of December. There was a superstorm in 1859, so I checked what alignment there was then, and that was an alignment from Saturn, Mars, and Venus. And in 1921, there was also a solar superstorm, and that was an alignment from Mars and Venus and Mercury. So then I looked at the alignment from the previous cataclysm. According to the Egyptians, it was in 9000, according to Albert Schlossman, who translated it, is in 9792 BC. So I looked in that year, but there was nothing, and I thought then, well, he was maybe wrong with a year, and he was indeed wrong with a year. And at around the exact date he translated, the 27th of July, I saw the alignment coming, the same one like we see later this year, with Saturn, Mercury, and Venus.
Gosh.
Yeah. So we are doomed. Nobody... not that many people can survive, because a solar superstorm destroys the worldwide grid system immediately by an electromagnetic pulse, and all nuclear reactors, like in Fukushima, will start to melt down after that.
Yeah, they would.
That is the big problem, because the amount of radioactivity will be between 5 to 10,000 times Chernobyl. So I still don't know if humanity can survive this.
From what you're saying, also the main problem from the solar flare is that you believe it had caused some polar shift, don't you?
Yes.
So
look, there are 2 things. So for the non-believers in the polar shift, NASA says that a big solar flare can destroy the worldwide grid system any moment.
Yes.
So, and what I calculated is a super solar flare. So that will indeed destroy the worldwide grid system and melt down the nuclear reactors.
Yes.
So that is on itself worse enough, because if there is no electricity, 90% of all Americans and Europeans will die in less than 6 months, because if there is no electricity, then there is no food, there is no water. You can't go to the toilet after a few weeks. You have the same diseases like in the Middle Ages, and so...
And there's already no police or medical or firefighting intervention.
No money,
will be looters.
Nothing.
Everybody will fight over the last resources, won't they?
Yeah, so that on itself is a big wipeout.
To you, scientifically, how do you think a solar flare could induce polar shift?
A solar flare can indeed induce a polar shift by throwing a large amount of particles with southern polarity. Now, the South Pole in December is turning to the sun, and so South Pole and South Pole, they push each other upside down. So the inner core of the Earth, just take a ball and turn it around, and then to turn it up its head while turning it around, then you will see after that the movement of the ball will be reversed. So the inner core of the Earth will be on its head, pushed up on its head, and the movement of the inner core will reverse, and around it is the magma and the crust, and they will follow. And that happens in less than 3 days. So in less than 3 days, you will have a reversal of the movement of the Earth, and that will have big flood, because at the equator, the speed of the movement of the Earth is very high. So that will induce a shift in speed of more than 3,000 kilometers an hour. So that will cause a tidal wave from at least 1.5 kilometer high worldwide, everywhere, during several days.
Yeah. I'm personally interested in ancient advanced civilizations, and I look into things like ancient maps where it does appear that our civilization has mapped in the ancient past parts of ice-free Antarctica. And you had a slight theory that the Earth won't flip entirely because of the bulge around the middle, didn't you?
Yes. If you study the Ice Ages, just go to the movie Ice Age, and then you will see in the beginning, I think it's in the beginning of movie 3, that you will see that United States is under the ice, then it's ice freeze again, then it's again under the ice freeze again. So it's a returning cycle of 11,500 years. Now, nobody can explain that very well. 12,000 years ago, New York didn't exist. Why not? And Chicago also not, because there was more than 1 kilometer ice above it. So, and how do you explain that exactly? Well, if you move Chicago and New York under the Arctic Circle, then you have immediately 1 kilometer ice.
Yes.
And that is what will happen. So there will be a huge shift from at least 2,000 miles from the United States and South America to the pole, and that will destroy almost everything in South America and the United States. Nothing will remain. No stone will be placed on another one after that.
So it's your belief the sun is responsible for the polar shift, and the polar shift is responsible for the ice age? Well, not the ice age, the movement of certain areas under the pole.
Yes, and there is also a connection between everything. So, and there was a high civilized, advanced civilization that was able to calculate the last polar reversal, and they escaped with tens of thousands of boats, And that is the reason why we have now such an advanced civilization, and also why there are now so many people in the world. Because if you don't know that it will happen, almost everybody will be wiped out. Under the 2 kilometers, because of the tidal wave, everybody will be killed. Only the people that are in the high mountains can survive such a cataclysm.
There's places like there's underground cities built by ancient peoples preparing for apocalypses that can be found the world over. As a structural engineer myself, I can say the building of such sites such as Derinkuyu in Turkey is a large multi-leveled underground excavation, and it rivals the ability of modern structural engineers today of our technological age. And the reason for building Derinkuyu can be found in the Venedad texts. They believe their prophet Yima was built a large multi-level underground city, not dissimilar to Noah's Ark, but to save mankind from a global ice age. Because the Zoroastrian religion at the time, Persian in origin, believed that their creator god, Aru Mazda, saved mankind because he warned them of a coming ice age. And also the Mayans of South America, the Hopi of North America, and ancient religions such as the Zoroastrian I just mentioned, or even Australian Aborigines and so on. All these people believe their ancestors emerged into this civilization from underground after escaping a worldwide apocalypse, which is a total contradiction to what they teach in the mainstream education system. And there's also ancient sites at significant altitude that have been destroyed by tsunamis, such as that of Ollantaytambo in Peru. There's a famous Russian team of scientists that have concluded the site has been destroyed by, they believe it's much bigger, about a 3,000 meter tsunami wave from the Pacific Ocean during a cataclysm about 13,000 years ago, despite being 400 kilometers in from the shore. I've got a lot about that that's going to be put on our site. People don't often listen to these facts. They assume the government aren't doing anything about it. But no one bothers to read the legislation that the government put out. There's a think tank called the Club of Rome, which is on par with the United Nations and the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations, and even the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Now, in short, if you read through their legislation, they're discussing a timely depopulation in time to coincide with the Mayan prophecy of the 21st of December 2012, as stated in their own declaration, which I'm going to quote from in a minute. Now, the Club of Rome consists of members such as US presidents, in the past and present, Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, the Prime Ministers of the UK, such as Tony Blair, Prime Ministers of Italy and Germany, and Kings of Queens of Spain and the Netherlands, and so on. Even Bill Gates, who's now publicly speaking out that the answer to overpopulation is vaccines. There's countless publishers of papers such as on overpopulation and eugenics, such as Garnet Hardin, Professor of Human Ecology, that's also a member of the Club of Rome, and former presidents of the Council on Foreign Relations, and many generals of the United Nations. Even spiritual leaders such as the Dalai Lama of Tibet are members of the Club of Rome. You can all be researched on the internet. And even David Rockefeller, founder of the Trilateral Commission. Rockefeller's foundation helped Hitler's eugenics program through the guise of Standard Oil and close ties with IG Farben. But what it is the Club of Rome declared a state of emergency and published a declaration in 2008, which predicts the Earth becoming uninhabitable from a total systems collapse of our civilization to coincide with 2012. And this is what they've put. They say this is close in time to the Mayan 2012 prophecy for the end of the current world. The period around 2012 is likely to be a turbulent one for this and other reasons. Predictions coming from the physical sciences foresee disturbances in the geomagnetic and electromagnetic and related fields that embed the planet, causing significant damage to telecommunications and impacting many aspects of human activity and health. For the esoteric traditions, the end of 2012 would be the end of the known world. So what they're mentioning in their legislation is they're saying damage to geomagnetic, electromagnetic related fields, telecommunication systems and human health. Well, that just sums up solar flares. And this declaration is written by worldwide leaders. Before I ask you what you're doing to prepare for 2012, I'm going to say the elite are buying and building apocalypse bunkers like there's no tomorrow. It's been almost impossible to get parts in the market. The government have been buying up whole markets of survival food supplies, which is not usually done. They've even erected bunkers near the planetary poles named Doomsday Vaults. However, these bunkers, for example, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, opened in 2008, is protected by armed guard and harbours 4.5 million varieties of the world's seed, so that humanity can begin again after surviving a global apocalypse. It's worth noting that the Svalbard Dooms Vault was set up and funded by Bill Gates, the Rockefellers and the GMO giants, and they're amongst the very members of the Club of Rome that published the State of Emergency Declaration that I've just mentioned, that said that the civilization is due to collapse at the end of 2012. And the Rockefellers are also the ones that have designed the education system, and they are quoted as saying that they want a nation of workers and not thinkers. Patrick, what are you preparing to do for the 21st of December 2012?
Well, you need first at least €1 billion or dollars to have something good to survive, and otherwise we have only a small amount of money, so we'll try on 2 locations to survive.
Yeah.
One in Africa and one in Europe, and don't have that much money, but I am sure that we have a lot more chance to survive than the rich guys, because what are the rich guys doing? They are building first on a too low place, and they are building bunkers that can't resist 10 plus earthquakes, so they will be destroyed in their bunkers. And they don't think, because you can have food for several years, and you can have electric equipment for several years, but the electromagnetic pulse will destroy every computer and all electric equipment. So the rich, if they survive, and I don't believe they will survive, then they have a lot of material that won't work. And then they are so stupid not to build a library. You need a library because if the computers fail, you need the books to restart the civilization. If you don't have a library, you can't restart a civilization, because it will take thousands and thousands of years to reinvent everything again from scratch.
Yeah.
And if you have it on books, then it's very easy to restart a civilization. That is what you need.
Yeah, I totally agree. Myself and Andrew here at Life for Life have got our own little library going, but I think the elite probably have libraries installed. Because
no, but what
even when they built the
they are so stupid. They what I have heard via the connections, they don't have. They are not so smart, you know. They built from these super bunkers that they can't resist water, the wave. So, well, I give them zero chance. I think the less educated people, like the people in Ethiopia that live on
mountains,
2 miles high,
like in the Andes mountains in Peru.
Yeah, or these guys will survive, and the educated people, like the Europeans and the Americans, well, only a few will survive.
Right.
That is my opinion. I still have my questions, my big question: all the nuclear reactors melt down, can humanity survive? That is my big question. Because of that, the only reasonable survival place is somewhere in Africa, because I don't like South America because of the big movement, so the mountains can go down.
And the world has a lot of volcanoes apart from in Africa.
And a lot of volcanoes. And Australia, well, that could go closer to
the pole.
So
yeah.
I don't like it. So the only place that I like is somewhere in southern Africa, somewhere there.
You have a project running in Africa now. Was it a nightmare to get things like planning permission, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, that's no problem to get permissions there to build everything. It's no problem. What is your website?
Basically, it's called lifeforlie.com, and it's interested in a variety of subjects. Initially, I was very interested in ancient advanced civilizations, and obviously, I've always been interested in how they've ended. It sounds like this cyclic apocalypse that we're talking about today, a global disaster. My partner's very into researching a lot of things that are going on in the government today, and between us, we just want to string everything together and see how everything connects. And we do think that they know what's going on, and we do think they know about what's coming. And they're probably preparing and keeping everybody else unaware.
It's maybe possible that they know it, but nobody knows the theory that I have found. So there are several theories. There are at least 4 unknown theories that they knew. I cracked 2. A large part of it, so I am able now to do predictions for solar flares, and I can now say with 100% absolute certainty that we will have a super solar storm at the end of 2012.
Yes, so it's very impressive that you've calculated that, and I think that's true from the government legislation. They're even that nobody bothers to read that they do put out there.
Yeah, well, we'll see. My prediction is now for next week. I think there will be an X-flare, and if that happens, maybe even a big earthquake on Earth, because there is a correlation with the alignment from the Earth with 2 other planets and big earthquakes. All the big earthquakes that happened, they happened one day before or after an alignment from the Earth with 2 other planets.
What date are you expecting the alignment?
The alignment is between the 21st and the 23rd.
I'll definitely look out for that. That'd be interesting.
Yes, and you can have then X-flares or big 8+ earthquakes on the Earth. I've just put a video out with the prediction that I think that we will have an even bigger one than this week, because the one that happened this week was not on an alignment, so it doesn't fit. And I think because of the complexity of the alignments next week that caused this earthquake already. Yeah.
No, that is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, next week, the 22nd, we will have the same alignment that triggered Fukushima last year.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it will happen again, because we did have 2 big 8+ earthquakes this week, so I don't know. But normally in the past there was always
one day before or after.
Yeah, and now it wasn't, so I'm asking myself, will this be a precursor from something bigger, or was it because of the complexity that we will have next week?
Right, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it's very impressive what you've discovered, Patrick. It is very impressive.
Okay, and you can make a link with the earthquake video.
Oh yes, certainly.
Videos on YouTube. There are 15 videos on the channel, and you can find it there.
What's your channel called?
Yeah, you go just to YouTube from the videos.
Yeah. Mhm.
Rory Pips. That's from my friend. He has the channel.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we will definitely do that. Thank you very much, Patrick.
All right, and you can put also what I discovered about the solar flares with my predictions. You have it. So I give the possibilities. There is a possibility that we will have something huge in May, but I am not sure of that, because it's the same alignment like the 7th of June in 2011. And in June 2011, we had a huge solar outburst, never seen before. And in May, we will have the same alignment, but there was no alignment, no opposition with Venus, so I don't know if it will happen again. But it is related to the code with the Egyptians, because the Egyptians said when Venus makes a retrograde loop above Orion, that will be the year of the end. And
yes, I've seen that. That is interesting.
yes,
That.
and next month, Venus will start to make its retrograde loop, and when it makes its retrograde loop, then the alignment that caused the big eruption is coming back. So I don't know, but it is possible that we will see something similar like the 7th of June 2011. And then there is something else also. The 12th and the 13th of March, there was a crash in the magnetic field of the Earth, and that was induced by a combination of an alignment with Venus, Earth, and Jupiter that will come back at the end of June, but not so strong, and at the end of 2012. So at the end of June, it is possible that we will see again a crash in the magnetic field of the Earth.
Gosh, yeah, well, we should watch out for that.
Yeah.
That will affect us most significantly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Geryl, for your time. I know you're busy.
Okay.
Preparing.
I know the most things now, and everybody can watch the predictions and can see how, if you go to my website, there is a link with a program that is used by NASA, and everybody can then check the alignments that I have found.
I'm sure we will do. We'll keep on top of that. That's
yes,
very good.
And you can also go in the past to check with other solar flares or other big earthquakes on Earth to check with the alignment.
We will do. Thank you very much for your time, Patrick.
Bye.
Polar shift was first theorized by Charles Hapgood. Hapgood was led to conclude that the Earth was subject to periodic pole shift when he stumbled upon the Piri-Reis map, created in 1513. The map was compiled from much more ancient source maps. It portrayed parts of Antarctica ice-free, only the ice in these locations today is over a mile thick. The geographical detail agrees remarkably with the results of the seismic profile made across the ice cap in 1949. This indicates the map was made before the region was covered in ice. The problem lies that this region was last ice-free 6,000 or more years ago. Furthermore, the map was made with technology accurately measuring longitude far superior than anything invented in the late 18th century. The US Massachusetts Air Force analyzed the map and admitted it defies explanation. This map is evidence of a previous advanced civilization. Charles Hapgood discovered many more ancient maps whose details reflect advanced technology, but they were created long ago when sea levels were very different and glaciers covered Europe. It is worth noting that Albert Einstein too believed that the Earth was subject to polar shift from this evidence. The South American Mayans believed we were in the fifth world or civilization. They believed the Earth is periodically destroyed by a global cataclysm. When a Mayan elder was asked in an interview what his expectations of the 21st of December 2012 were, he replied that he believed in the events to come would reflect the past, and then quoted from the Mayan creation myth, the end of the fourth world. Soon the world span out of control and rolled over, mountains slid and fell, lakes and rivers splashed across the land as the earth tumbled, and finally the world froze over into nothing but ice. The Chinese annals say that in the time of the Emperor Yahu, the sun did not go down for 10 days. The world was in flames, and in their vast extent, the waters topped the greatest heights, threatening the heavens with their floods. The water of the ocean was heaped up and cast upon the continent of Asia. A great tidal wave swept over the mountains and broke the middle of the Chinese Empire. The water was caught in the valleys between the mountains, and the land was flooded for decades. That's a quote from Worlds in Collision by Emanuel Veliskowski. There are in fact over 300 global deluge beliefs from all around the world, and countless more apocalypse tales relating to the wrath of the sun. It is in fact quite possible for a solar flare of sufficient magnitude to induce polar shift. Let's not forget the resulting atmospheric catastrophe that would result a global superstorm. I'll explain briefly. The North Hemisphere and the South Hemisphere have different weather patterns. For instance, if you drain water down the tub in Australia, it goes clockwise instead of counterclockwise. the opposite of up here in the US and UK. The jet stream does exactly the same thing. Clouds move counterclockwise and clockwise in opposing hemispheres, as do the oceanic currents. If all of these things move suddenly, you're going to have conditions set up for what's called a global superstorm. These are snowstorms, but they are far from ordinary. They are super cold and over large geographical areas. This is why we have found frozen mammoths with food still in their mouths and bellies. We would in fact be facing 300 to 400 mile-an-hour winds, double what you would see in a tornado, which could last for a month or more. And once you get sand, glass and rock moving at speed, it will literally sandblast huge areas of the planet. Plus, electrocution would be witnessed on a planetary scale. 160 years ago, physicist Michael Faraday discovered the laws of electricity. He built the first dynamo and proved that a fluctuating magnetic field generates electric currents. If a dynamo can create an electrical current, then the moment the Earth's magnetic field reverses, enormous electrical currents will be produced. Billions of volts will be sent through the air and over the ground. Evidence of this can be seen where layers of mud have been baked so quickly into rock that the impressions of raindrops have been preserved. Personally, I don't think it would be the end of the world. This is a cyclic event. Humanity will survive, as it always has done. Why? Because a select few at the top of society, keeping this knowledge to themselves, prepare for their survival in secret, as the population as a whole lives on ignorant to the emergency measures being taken by the leaders around them. There is so much information we simply haven't got time to discuss that sheds light on the advancement of ancient civilizations, such as many ancient artifacts that should never have existed without a level of technology that rivals ours today, all of which are suppressed through education and media-controlled systems. If any listeners would like to learn more, just visit our site at lifeali.com.